Welcome to part 4 of our studio video. And this is going to be the addendum for the things that I forgot. And speaking about forgetting, we all forget, we're human. So I know that it isn't always easy to remember every single thing. So that's why we're going to have the checklist out there for you. I have my little notes here to talk about the things that I forgot. Another thing I just wanted to say about being an artist is that our hope is to be aware of everything, to be aware of what's around us, and that means taking a look at the space before we leave to make sure that it's all done. So it's part of our artistic life. I mentioned that these were small pots of glaze. They're not low fire, they're high fire, so these can be used to touch up your work. I also wanted to mention underneath the table we have some bins of a sponge that we use under our work so it doesn't break when we're working with our greenware. If you get them dirty, it is good to wash them out and just return them wet. They'll dry. We'd like to eliminate too many steps. Here we have newspaper. I prefer if you don't return newspaper that's not usable again. And there's also plastic in the bin there for covering your work. And you can return it to the bin when you're finished if it isn't too dirty. If it's really, really dirty, you can throw it away. I give you permission. When we're using the wax over here that lives over here, then please make sure that you take your brush, your sponge brush, squeeze out all the extra, and they get cleaned out with hot water. Just take a small container from here and fill it up with hot water, wash it out, shake it out, and put it back. Okay. And any of you who are using high fire clay on the wheel and have extra clay that you don't know what to do with, since we can't recycle it here and we can't pour it down the sink, we do let it dry out here, but I ask that when you're finished with your bowl of it that you wipe the rim so it doesn't dry up all around it, and then as you come in, or somebody here, we will skim the water off the top, and when it's all dried out, then we just throw it in the garbage. So remember that. Okay. The blow dryer is here. Please remember, if you use it anywhere else in the studio, to return it to the space. And here are the stir sticks, all the stir sticks that we use to mix all the high fire glazes and the low fire glaze, and they get washed and returned to this space. The tray area over here, I wanted just to mention that on the bottom shelf are all the tubes that we use to make mugs and vases. And here are the plaster molds. Be very careful with the edges. They do break if they're not handled properly. I like to put something underneath it, usually a bowl that's too big. A little bowl underneath it when I'm working on it, like this, so it stays off the table when I'm working with it. And remember, it's really important to wash your tray and your netting at the sink after you use it. Otherwise, it's got clay here which turns into dust, which again is our enemy. And here is the netting that we use. This bottom one is for the netting, and then we have lace up here. Again, you can return your netting wet, it doesn't matter, but it needs to be cleaned out before you return it. All the clay that we check out, we need to make sure that we write our names, excuse me, jump across here, with a magic marker in big letters on every bag of clay that you use. If you're recycling, we keep extra bags here, and there are clips. Again, you need to write your name across it on the top. And if it's a different kind of clay, you might want to put that on there also, because you will forget sometimes what's the difference between the K110 and the GG. They often have similar colors before they're fired. One word about the slab roller. If when you're using it and you're turning the gears and it's really, really hard to turn it, it means that it probably needs to be opened up more. We don't want to put too much stress on the gears because they do break. I think that that's it. So just remember, a last final reminder that we want to follow the happy camper rule in the studio, which is leave it cleaner than you found it. It makes life for everybody who comes in after you much more of a pleasure to work here. And happy creating.